It's November, so that means Game Boy Color for some reason. Today's game is Micro Machines 1 and 2 Twin Turbo. This game is essentially a remake of the first two Micro Machines games, both on one cartridge. If you've never played Micro Machines, then they're top-down racing games where you control tiny cars and race around familiar locations like the kitchen or on top of a pool table. While you do get two different games here, the gameplay and modes are pretty much the same for both of them. So first of all, you get the standard racing mode, where you and 3 other drivers compete to finish races first. And you also get the famous head-to-head mode, where 2 players both share the same camera, and if you get so far ahead of the other player that the camera leaves them behind, then you get a point. The single-player mode consists of you doing a race, and if you do well enough, then you move on to the next race. You do that a couple more dozen times, and you win. I do kind of wish there was a save feature for this mode, because there's actually a lot of tracks to go through. It takes a while to go through them all. You drive in a different vehicle on every track, so how good the controls are really depends on which vehicle you're driving, because some cars control great and they feel really fun to drive, while others are really slippery and just slide all over the place, but overall the controls are pretty good. The main difference between Micro Machines 1 and Micro Machines 2 is that, well, besides different track designs, is that 1 has a lot more zoomed out camera, while 2 is more zoomed in and the graphics are a lot better. And the games also have a pretty different feel to the controls, so even though they're pretty similar games, they do feel distinct. The game is fun, but there's one major problem with it, and that's that the Game Boy Color screen is just too small. A lot of the time it's just really hard to react to things in time, because they just come up too quickly for you to see them. This was already kind of a tough thing about the console Micro Machines games, so you can imagine it's even worse on a handheld. And while this is an issue with the first game, it's even worse for the second game. It just makes Micro Machines 2 really hard to play on this cartridge. On the bright side, you do get a 2-player mode that works with 2 players sharing the same Game Boy Color, where both cars move automatically and player 1 steers with the D-pad while player 2 steers with A and B. This is a nice feature, but there's one really annoying thing about that, because player 1 steers with the D-pad, but they push up and down to steer rather than left and right. This is really stupid, but I don't know, it's been a thing for like all the other Micro Machines games. I never understood it, like why can't we just steer with left and right? I don't know. So overall, this is a pretty good game with one serious problem. You see, while the games themselves are really fun, it's just too hard to see what's coming ahead of you unless you memorize the courses. The small screen just doesn't ruin the game, but it comes pretty close to ruining it. It is still a fun game, and I think some of you guys watching would enjoy it, but it's just kind of hard to recommend it just due to that small screen size, so in the end, I think you might be better off just playing the console version, but I did still have fun with it, so it's not a complete waste.